Welcome, Chantelle. I'm so excited to be interviewing you. You've recently taken our SMRT, Somatic Memory Repatterning Technique training to help you personally. And I wanted to jump on and interview you because your story is so powerful. And I know you want to help other women who've been suffering in the same way as you have. So, just for people who are watching this, a little bit of background. Chantelle jumped on the training very last minute and she reached out to me and she said she wanted to try and come on the training. Will it help this issue that she had? And I said, well, it's worked successfully in these areas so far. Potentially it can help. But I didn't know because SMRT is a new technique, a new method that works on releasing trauma loops that help your body regulate and that you can break free from pain, anxiety, fears, phobias. So Chantelle joined and we want to share the results. So Chantelle, just tell us a little bit more about your journey with your symptoms and your issue and your experience with it really.
Thank you, Emery. Yeah, I was really skeptical because
Good to be.
I didn't know much about SMRT at the time, as not many people do. Um, I've had a condition that I've had ever since I started menstruating. So actually, when I was 10, because I was very young, I'm 35 now. So I've had premenstrual dysphoria disorder my whole life. But I only really realized that's what it was about 6 years ago. And I was in a corporate job at the time. And for people that don't know what premenstrual dysphoric disorder is, it's basically what doctors think it is it's a hormonal disorder that affects your monthly cycle as a woman. So you have your 4 phases in the month of where you are in your cycle, of your 28-day cycle. So I had a corporate job that I was having a very bad PMDD month. I actually explained to my team leader, I'm under a lot of pressure because my colleague was off, so I had double the workload, and I already could feel that this was going to be stressful for me. I knew that that was going to be a trigger for me. But they asked me to train somebody and I said, look, I just can't cope with that. And that was ignored. And that was just like, well, you just have to. So, of course, I had an outburst, which I knew I was going to have because stress and anger, rage come up as some of my symptoms. And a lot of women's symptoms who have PMDD. It's around the anger, the rage, low mood, low depression, irritability, suicidal ideations as well in the 2 weeks before your period. So I had to leave that job. I was going to be put through grievances and they were going to escalate it. And I was just like, I'm out of here. Absolutely not. How can you treat me like this? No way. No way, no way, no way. But because I didn't have a diagnosis at that time, they were just like, yeah, unless you've got a sick note, like, we don't care. Like, your behavior is out of order. And obviously, I was mortified, absolutely mortified. And so I had to leave. Fortunately, I've got really good grandparents that were just like, look, we want you to be well. We will look after you. Stay in the property that you're in. We'll financially look after you. Very grateful that they are able to do that because it's destroyed work, career, relationships, um, debilitating. And it happens every month. So I was like thinking to myself, do I have borderline personality disorder? How can I be okay 1 minute and how can I be like this monster almost the next minute that it affects everything in my life? And then I realized actually I have PMDD. It goes around my cycle every single month. So I have symptoms that I have had to manage every month that goes in a cycle of being okay 1 minute and not very okay the next minute. So I was skeptical because the doctors tell you it's hormonal. So they will put you on antidepressants, but I wasn't depressed apart from that kind of 2 weeks before my period. The next 2 weeks I was fine. So they'll give you antidepressants or they taught you just do some more exercise. I exercise every single day. Do some talk therapy, which is just talking about your symptoms, but not really having anything that you can call on. So I tried a lot, supplements, diets. Yeah, I tried a lot of things, birth control that made the hormones part of it even crazier. So I was researching and I found out that it's actually trauma impacts a lot of women that have PMDD, and a lot of their PMDD comes from the trauma that's manifested in their body. And essentially, that's how I've come across SMRT, and I am so glad that I have.
Yay! Oh my God,
But yeah.
Chantelle. Oh my God, I'm so happy for you after 25 years of having that ruining so much, so your potential basically.
Yeah.
Um, and oh my God, your story is so powerful. And I reached out to you and I said, you have got to share this with other women, because I was having coffee with a friend who was explaining about um I don't know, a girlfriend or a friend's girlfriend, I can't remember now, who had been diagnosed, and how she explodes, how it ruins relationships, how it feels and seems like to the outside world there could be underlying health issues, but it's that she's been diagnosed with it finally now. So it's life altering. The symptoms change the course of your life, but hopefully now, well, let's explain. So you came on the
Yeah.
training,
Yeah.
and I think, did I use you as the case study on the day? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were like, okay, we're going to know if this, well, we had a marker, didn't we? We had a measure to, because the results work instantly with SMART, because it
Yeah.
resets the nervous system. So we knew what we were working with. We had some anxiety stuff that you were knew happens every day or every time you encounter a situation. So we knew we could check on that straight away. But then we also, the big one was about 2 weeks after the training, when you were going into a cycle that all your symptoms come up. So tell us what happened, or just share whatever you want.
Yeah, so I was going into the luteal phase of my cycle, which is typically from ovulation is when I start getting those symptoms. So I would start getting a lot of anxiety, irritability, just feeling like there was this little kind of bubbling away of like not being able to cope with things. And that really kind of peaks when you ovulate. So there are the hormonal factors around that because I could feel things kind of changing. Um, but I knew like that weekend, like I felt anxious. I felt like there was some anxiety. For me, when I feel that way, and typically when I'm ovulating, the types of things that happen are like when I'm driving, I'm just getting irritable with people. When I go to the supermarket, I'm like irritable around people. I don't know if it's like the lights and things as well, just overstimulated, but that would really, when I'm ovulating, that gets like 10 times worse. Going to the gym, again, I can feel this like, oh, I don't really want to be here. So I knew I was working with those kind of symptoms when I had that session with you.
Mhm.
I was ovulating that weekend. Straight after, I didn't feel really any of those anxieties that I normally would have, none of that kind of irritability or that like fear of like being seen, which is a huge kind of one of my limiting beliefs as well. That really, when I'm in my luteal phase, like just before my period, like the 5 days before that will be a huge thing for me about kind of being seen, but it starts bubbling away at that ovulation. So straight away, those things weren't really there. They weren't really a thing after the session that we did. Um, I did have another session with somebody else on the course as well. Um, and like my symptoms were more just like PMS symptoms. Like there's been no rage, there's been no anger, and I've had a lot of things going on personally as well with my ex at the moment. So managing that. I also broke down, my car broke down 5 days before I was about to menstruate, and that would normally send me over the edge because I would go into a trauma response. I would usually be so scared that I felt abandoned, which again is another thing of what we've dived into through the sessions. But I'd be like, well, I'm abandoned, I'm alone, I don't have anyone. And what actually happened was I didn't go into a trauma response. I didn't, my brain could stay logical, so the hormones weren't overtaking what I was going to do. And I actually attracted to male people to help me when I broke it down. I was open to receiving them instead of being pushing them away, which I normally would have done, and gone into this masculine, leave me alone, I'm angry, I will do it by myself, when all I really want is somebody to help me. And I attracted that without having to say anything or do anything. That just happened. So that was absolutely huge because the timing was just like, this is a test, and this is the test that's going to happen. You are going to have something that you would normally have a meltdown about, no matter where you are in your cycle. But 5 days before my period, I did not lose it. I didn't
Wow.
scream, I didn't shout, I didn't cry. I was a little bit anxious, but I've just broken down on the middle of a busy A road in 30-degree heat.
Oh,
Like, so if you think of it like that, like worlds away from what my typical symptoms and responses and behavior would have been previously.
that's amazing. And I know you reported to me, was we message each other all the time,
Mm.
that you noticed your skin hadn't had its normal hormonal breakout.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what Anne-Marie had said when we first had the session was look for little subtle differences because until you're in that horrific symptom, the shouting, the rage, the anger that typically comes up, if you're not due those symptoms, think about like the little things. And that's why around the ovulation was really important. But I was literally doing my skincare one night and I like looked at my moisturizer that I usually use for my breakouts because I've had breakouts probably consistently for the last 2 years, have been really bad around my cycle, like hormonally around my chin, on my jawline, like on my cheeks, on my forehead. I have not had anything. My skin has been clear. And
Oh,
that absolutely shocked me. But also, if I hadn't been thinking and looking out
yes.
for that, then I would have missed it.
Yeah. Yeah, that is amazing. I mean, just the results of SMART are so phenomenal. They blow me away every time.
Mm.
So, what SMART gives you is a self help technique as well. So, always part of the protocol, if somebody has a SMART session, that they continue to do the repatterning technique, which is unique and bespoke to SMART. They continue to do that. So, what we do is we usually locate a memory, especially if there's been a bit of trauma there, or we think there's trauma, which is just dysregulation of the nervous system. We go back, we locate the root cause through the subconscious mind, and then we work with a specific technique, which is the SMART, which is the repatterning technique. And what that does is it completely dismantles the trauma looping happening. So when you want to do things in your normal life, and you get that anxiety and the pullback and you can't do it, we think it's just a block or a limiting belief, but it's a trauma response. But that doesn't happen anymore. Your nervous system gets regulated. So you were able to go to the gym, go into these situations that normally cause anxiety or rage, and not feel that way anymore because the nervous system's regulated. And it's regulated because the memory and the emotions attached to the memory long ago are no longer connected, so there's no trauma response. So that's where the freedom comes. And Chantelle is obviously going to be, when she's, fully trained, she's going to be working with women who suffer with either this or similar, and other things as well, whatever you decide to do. But I just think sharing your story is so powerful because you are living proof of what can be achieved when you start to regulate a nervous system, which drives the endocrine system.
Mm. Yeah, it's so powerful, and I didn't think there was anything that was ever going to be able to help because I'd done so many things, and that's where like that skepticism came in because I've been looking at it for a while. I've been asking questions in the group, but I've been very on the down low because I was just like, I've had this for so long. I don't know if it's ever going. I don't know if it's ever. I like this is a death sentence. That was literally my thoughts. I was like, there's no way. I'm just going to have to cope with these things for the rest of my life. And I think what's been the huge change is yes, the ovulation and the symptoms and what I could notice straight away, but it's actually like there would be times when I wouldn't leave the house the week of uh the week before my period. There'd be times where I was like, I can't even leave the house. I can't make plans. I work very much with my cycle anyway to do with like energy as well. And knowing, okay, I don't really want to, book in interviews or book in life-changing things or make decisions about things because I know that I can't do that. And I think the fear of saying I can't do that is because there was fear of not trusting myself to be able to make those decisions or meet new people or meet even with friends for a coffee because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to react. I don't trust myself. If somebody says something and I snap, like I can't trust myself to be around people. And actually, like the week before my period, like my car broke down. Like, what the hell? That would have normally sent me in an absolute downward spiral of a meltdown, of crying, of panicking, of being completely emotionally dysregulated. Like, if you could ask me what would be the worst thing that could happen the week before, it would be something like that catastrophic that's going to send me over the edge. Like, it was to the point like where my family were like, "Oh, we can't tell Chantelle this is happening because we don't know how she's going to react to it," which is what I've had for a long time in my life. But actually, like, I could go to the gym. I even went on a date that week. Like, I would never put myself out there to do those things because I was like, I don't know if I can trust
Yeah.
myself.
Oh,
But I can trust myself. And I think that for people with PMDD, I know they're going to resonate with that of like, well, I'm going to snap at somebody, or I don't know how to control myself, or my behavior is going to get me into trouble. But I don't have that anymore. And I think that is what is life changing is to not go about my month thinking, oh, well, I can't go. I've been on holidays before the week before, and it's just been a disaster. Like, it's just like, I don't want to be there. I feel horrific. Like, I don't want to be there. And that's ruined then relationships because of I'm just not happy on the holidays where I should be really happy. I've heard of people, their wedding day falls the week before, and it's
oh
like
my
the people with
goodness.
PMDD, and it's just like this is a disaster. But we can't have our lives be ruled by PMDD when I know there is something that can completely change it now. So
That's
I'm
amazing. Yeah.
so grateful.
Yeah, no, I'm so grateful for you for, taking the leap really and trusting your intuition, I'm sure was driving you on some level. And the fact, research and everything. But
Yeah.
yeah, to be able to help women in this situation will be amazing for people. So watch this space really for you, Chantelle. I'm so happy.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Like, as I said, to not have these debilitating symptoms is just life-changing, and I can't wait to help other women that go through this every single month and think the same as me of there's nothing that can do. So I'm glad that I was able to listen to myself, knowing that I didn't know actually much about SMRT and just
Do it.
trusted in the timing of everything coming together and just taking that leap because it's the best thing I've done. So
Oh, so happy to hear that. Thanks so much, Chantelle. This has been an amazing interview.
thank you.